just getting started here. I'm just checking to make sure streams are going where they need to be streaming to. And I think we should be good to go in just a sec here, because I don't have to do Instagram today when I code live. There's no Instagram because vertical video and coding do not go well together. Cool. Yeah, today's going to be fun. We're going to be trying to do a little bit more progress on the WordPress to Blazor migration. I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now with WordPress. Literally, my migration has nothing to do with all of the WordPress news, ironically or coincidentally or what have you. It's entirely self-motivated. I just... I've been realizing over the past week or so, I'm like, oh man, like kind of a timely topic, I suppose. But the reason that I'm trying to migrate my stuff from WordPress and LightSail is I'm just going to give you a little bit of background so it makes sense why I'm doing this. But when I set up my dev leader blog, I had originally launched it in like 2013. I launched it on a Raspberry Pi, which was a lot of fun. And I remember at the time I was like, okay, like it's kind of a pain in the butt. Like it was pretty cool to do, but I'm like, I might as well get this thing hosted, and did that. And it was better. And then when I gave up on blogging and resumed it, and you can see my cat in the background, that's Vito. He's going to make a mess of that couch. When I had finally resumed it again in the start of 2023, I said, okay, it's time to let's get it on a sort of more modern platform. So I moved it to LightSail. I had kind of revamped my WordPress setup. And the goal was that I could use plugins and stuff and everything would be great. And I could be totally hands off, but it was quite the opposite effect by putting so many plugins in place. Like basically my site goes down every like 2 to 3 days because it'll spike up in CPU and it will either kill off the service or hang the entire VM. It's outrageous. So I'm constantly battling that. There's tons of like weird styling issues from caching, like out of nowhere, like things will just break. It's a nightmare to work with now. And it's been like this for about a year. So started off pretty good, but I guess it's my own doing by adding a bunch of plugins. So long story short, instead of trying to say, okay, like let me finagle all of this in WordPress and work with plugins and stuff, like I'm just going to not do that. I'm going to move it over to Blazor. I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly, but Steven Giesel has a Blazor blog engine. I will put the link into the chat. Oh, and also I think he's on YouTube here, link.net. So, hey, everybody. Hey, Nick. That's Steven, I believe. Burhan, good to see you. Steven, let me know if I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, if it's Giesel. If you want to phonetically write it out, I will correct how I'm pronouncing it. I apologize. But this is the repository. I did get .NET 9 installed this time. Almost 7 out of 10 on the name. Nice. Okay, I'm close. I'm close. The last time we went through this, I was using the .NET 8 version. Steven had mentioned that there's a couple more enhancements, so we'll try to see what those are. My goal today is, again, not to get everything totally ported over. There's like 350 blog posts. My goal today is to, first of all, let's poke around in the new .NET, sort of like off the mainline branch. And, okay, so... we'll see the new features, and then what I'd like to do is kind of walk through how I'm going to have to migrate my posts. This morning I tried to get set up. Man, this cat is chaos. Buddy, come on, leave the couch alone. Oh my god. It's funny, they have all these scratching posts and stuff, and they're like, no interest, and then couches are like the ultimate scratching post, of course. But my goal is, because I have so many blog posts, and the formatting is going to be completely different, right? In WordPress, everything's HTML. All the plugins and stuff have the ability to drop in like short codes and things like that. So you can like template parts of your blog post. So what is stored in the database is different than you will see when it's finally rendered. And I want to make sure that when I'm porting all of this stuff over, I don't imagine it's going to work perfectly, and like I don't have that expectation. So what I want to do is figure out where there are gaps. Now, this morning I was trying to get set up ahead of time. I wanted to make sure that I could get MySQL Workbench set up so that I could show you guys. Like I have basically a clone of my entire WordPress database. I cloned it over to Azure because it's currently in AWS. Cloned it to Azure so I'd have like a working one that I can, if I happen to write anything, I'm not gonna to brick anything that's live worse than it already is. And unfortunately, on this machine, I don't understand why. I don't know if my MySQL Workbench install is corrupt or something, but I can't connect to the database. So I basically am cheating by, I went to my other machine. It's literally sitting beside me. It can connect. It's all the IPs and stuff for networking are fine. I think there's just something weird in my MySQL Workbench setup. It's actually telling me that it's like failing to load a plugin for authentication, which seems pretty suspicious on a brand new install. But I have some of the posts exported, and I just picked 3 because I figured I have a newsletter article. I have a generic some of the articles that I used to be publishing more regularly before I was focusing more on developing Brand Ghost. And then I have like what I call like an Uber article, which is just a really big article that links out to a bunch of other ones. And this one's on design patterns. So I felt like that would be representative to get a bunch of different things. And what we can try to do is take the HTML, we can convert it to Markdown. There is a handful of NuGet packages that can do it. But like I said, I suspect that it's not going to work perfectly. So I want to see where the gaps are. So hopefully that sounds like an okay plan. By the way, folks, please do use the chat if you want to ask questions. We'll pause at any point to answer things. Steven, who is the author of this blog engine, is in the chat. I don't know how long he's going to be sticking around, but if you have questions and stuff, he's there. And I'm sure he'll be pointing out all the things I'm doing wrong, which is great. It's one of the joys of live coding. You have an audience to say, hey, no, you're wrong. And good morning, Mohammed. Good to see you from LinkedIn. Okay, let me go ahead and flip over my screen just to show you what we got going on here. So this is where the repository is. I did put it into the chat, but it's link.net/blog. And again, this is Steven's Blazor blog engine. So this is pretty cool. I do have it running on the latest .NET 9 version. So let me pull this up. I've already pulled down the code. And this is, I just got Visual Studio, like the preview version installed to run .NET 9 this morning. So as I go to run through this, there's going to be some stuff that's not configured how I expect, so it'll be okay. Good to see you, Mohammed, on YouTube. And I've already run this, and I just wanted to clarify for folks because you didn't see me do this ahead of time, but it runs perfectly, literally with no changes after cloning down the code, which is always a very enjoyable experience. Just literally all that I did was I changed in this menu. I wasn't using IIS. I just wanted to run it from link.net.blog.web. Just run it standalone. And honestly, that's literally the only thing I did. And then I press play. Okay, so it's running right this moment. I'm going to open up a new tab. One sec. Okay, and I'm going to take the URL, drop it in, and there we go. Right, so this is the blog running. There are no posts, but this is Blazor, which is awesome. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so we saw all this before, but this is, I just wanted to call out that this is the new .NET 9 code. This is running off of the main line. Mohammed, I'm interested in learning C# and .NET, have been using Java for a couple of years now. Any resources you can recommend? Yep, you're in a good spot. I put out a ton of .NET content. There's also Steven who's in the chat. Ow, cat is attacking my leg, sorry. That's very painful. Buddy, you gotta go. Okay, back here. I've never had so many nails go into my leg at the same time. Yeah. So you got a couple of .NET creators in the chat. I can, if you're on LinkedIn right now, if you check out my YouTube channel, it might be a good starting point. So that is right here coming into the chat. So a good starting point. I don't want to plug courses right away because I don't think that that's necessarily the best option for everyone. If you are motivated by learning by courses, I do have like a getting started course and stuff, which I will plug a little bit later in the live stream. But definitely, like, if you check out my content, and Steven has a lot of good content as well. I know Steven has a lot of advanced content, and I'm not saying that he doesn't have any more beginner stuff, but he certainly has a lot of really awesome advanced stuff as well. So cool. Mohammed, let me know if you have any other questions if you start poking around. If you check out my channel, there should be like beginner playlists that you can look for and get started there. Java is very similar to .NET in terms of syntax and things like that. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised coming over to .NET. So, okay. And I have a breakpoint that's been hit. Payload was invalid. Data protection warning. I don't know what that is. Steven, fix it. I'm just kidding. Okay. So overall, I think we're in a good spot to check some new things out. Steven, I didn't ask you ahead of time, and I think you mentioned it somewhere in a comment, but you said there's some new features, and I guess we could go look at the code, but I could have swore you said something along the lines of automatic, why can't I think of the word? Automatic table of contents, which is pretty cool. But if we check out anything, there's probably feature culture, probably some fixes and stuff, which is fine. I'm just kind of scanning through. Rate limiter. You can see Steven has tests. This is good. I'm just scanning through if Steven's still in the chat and he has a quick note on what is sort of new fancy features that would be cool to hear. Like I said, just kind of scanning. Bunch of fixes, which is awesome. But yeah, I think there was two things I remember, and I could have them totally wrong, but I believe there was automatic table of contents. For folks that aren't aware, there's a couple of blog engines that do this. Like I think Hashnode. There's a couple of them. Anyway, I use this feature in WordPress using a plugin, so I can write my article. It will, I'll have my headers and everything, and then at the top you can insert a table of contents, and basically you don't manually go update it. It will automatically drop it in, and you can jump to different parts of the article, which is, I think, really handy for being able to have users navigate. I believe it's probably helpful for search engine optimization as well. At one point, I started dropping this in everywhere because I believe I read it was good for SEO, but who knows these days. Okay, LinkDotNet is, so this is Steven saying, new features, better archive, you have a table of contents, and you have, automatically related blog posts. That's cool. Unfortunately, I don't have any blog posts imported right now, but that's an awesome feature. Yeah, in WordPress, I think, this is my current site. And I've talked about this before, but my current site, like all the spacing, like this is wrong. All of these big spaces, that's not supposed to exist there. And I'm not logged in, so let's see if we go. I haven't made new posts aside from newsletter articles in ages, but let's scroll a little lower. I just wanted to see if we can pick one. Okay, so here you can see automatic table of contents from WordPress. Okay. So Steven's saying we have this ability now, which is pretty cool. Oh, and Steven's, I just realized he's saying for developers. So if you're interested in using this, he's saying I use nullable annotations. I missed them and it bugged me so much. So awesome that that's in there. Gotta pay attention to the people that are going to be using it as well. So that's awesome. You'll notice here too, just to kind of point it out, this block here with all of these social icons, whether or not you like this or not, but the idea here is that this is actually a template that's dropped in. It's called a short code. So for example, I have this dropped into hundreds of blog articles, and if I wanted to update and change a social media platform, I just change the short code, and automatically any post when it's rendered will display the right thing. So I'm assuming we don't have this kind of thing in this blog engine, but this will be something, if it doesn't exist, I will be trying to build it because I need it. It's probably one of the most useful things for me, especially if I want to put relevant course advertisements and things, like I can do that. I'm pretty sure because it's going to be using Markdown, we'll be able to escape text and stuff like this. But what I wanted to show you was the related blog post part. So if we scroll to the bottom, so this one in WordPress, it's recommended. I don't actually know how it recommends things, to be completely transparent. So Steven's saying that we have automatically related blog posts. I have no idea if WordPress is trying to determine if these three are somehow related. So this article was about AutoFact Service Provider Factory for ASP.NET Core. So maybe, like, it's picking 3 things with ASP.NET Core, it's picking 2 things with AutoFact. So perhaps, but I don't know how it's determining that these are related. But it sounds like Steven's saying we get this feature, which is cool. Awesome. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back to the code here. I don't know. We had a weird bug from it crashed on me, but I'm not totally concerned, to be honest, because I don't know. Just I don't know what the error is yet, and I'm kind of running in a bit of a test setup, so not that concerned. But I think what I'd like to do is figure out, and maybe what I will do is I'll change the storage mode instead of being in memory, which is default. So I think, was that in app settings? Oh, persistence provider is SQLite. Oh, I could have swore that it was in memory. Maybe that's what it was on when I did it last time. So does that mean that we had a SQLite database that got created? Persistence provider. It's the only one in here. So I just want to explain my thoughts. So last time we were streaming, I'm pretty sure this was, Steven's saying in memory doesn't exist anymore. Okay, cool. Since I mentioned it. So this is using SQLite. So yeah, okay. I'm not going totally crazy here, maybe for other reasons, but the last time we streamed, it was doing in memory. So the persistence provider was in memory. That means there's no database created on disk or anything like that. Now it looks like the default is SQLite. Steven's saying in the chat that in memory does not exist anymore, which means that we should have a file that's created. For those that aren't familiar with the connection string syntax, especially for SQLite, you can see data source just equals file. Oh, and it does say memory. So I'm going a little crazy. So it is memory. But I think if I change this, just as an example, I could say blog.db, I believe. And I should just be able to run this, and we should see a SQLite file get created. Just waiting for this. Oh, awesome. That's I'm glad that I could be of of influence, Steven. So the last stream, just for context, and I didn't realize, sorry, this console, it wasn't flashing at me, but it did start up. There's that exception again. I'll show that in just a moment. That might be helpful for Steven. I don't know what it is yet, but the last stream I had done, I was discussing in-memory databases and sort of in-memory fakes, I guess. So the one challenge, especially if you're using link to SQL, is that the way that the expressions are converted into SQL operations can be very misleading. And I'm not saying that you cannot or should never do this, but I have had plenty of experiences so far where people said, okay, well, we're going to, instead of standing up a database, like instead of running a server or anything like that, what we want to do is we just want to run the other code and assume we have a database. So we'll basically use something that's like a dictionary or something else, right? You kind of use dictionaries as tables instead. And what ends up happening is that you write a bunch of link syntax, and you're doing like effectively it would be like link to SQL in production, but it's not actually doing link to SQL in your setup when you're using things like dictionaries. So what ends up happening is that you write this code, you're writing tests on it, it's all working, you're happy, and then you go to run it in production and it crashes. And you go, well, what the heck? Like, we have all these tests, it's all, we did everything we're supposed to do. The problem is that there are things, again, specifically in link to SQL, and I'm sure there's some other interesting gotchas where the expressions just do not translate into SQL. And then as a result, you go to execute that code and it crashes. So when we were chatting about this briefly before, the really nice thing about SQLite is that you can host it in memory. So you don't even need a file. If you don't actually want to persist it and you just want some database functionality, instead of kind of cheating and just using a dictionary or, kind of having this stubbed out repository or database that you can work with, you literally can just use a SQLite in-memory database, and then all of the things like link to SQL will work. Now, you can still run into funny things if you're having like, I don't know, different SQL engines that support different feature sets, but at least in this case, you're using a real database, which is awesome. So Steven was saying, I just want to pull this up. So, okay, that's local storage. Maybe they changed something between .NET 8 and .9. You can go to your browser and delete everything in your local storage for that website. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a cryptography. The payload was invalid. For more information, go to this site, data protection warning. So, okay, I'm not too concerned about that, but good to call out. And of course, like, you're seeing this, so if you have other people that are noticing it, then you can either direct them, or if there's I have no idea if there's an easy fix or something, or if it's just something that's like kind of local state, which is entirely possible too. Okay, I think from here though, it might be interesting to go look at, I wanted to go look at the database, and that's what it made. So it's hard to see because my resolution, I apologize. Let me, oh man, I don't even have a context menu to, oh, there it is. Open folder. Okay, let me quickly do this thing. I'm going to open this in SQLite Expert. It's a funny application name, SQLite Expert Personal, and there's a SQLite Expert Personal, Professional. So it's funny to see expert and personal at the same time. I've always laughed at this tool, but it's a very helpful tool for SQLite. And I just wanted to show that we have, like, there's no data, but we can see the schema here, right? Again, I apologize for the resolution. I can't zoom in on this, but we have, the blog post ID, the title, a short description. If you're not familiar with that, it's like a meta description, especially for search engines, to show you a little blurb from the article, the actual content. We have URLs for the pictures. We got to see all of this stuff inside of the app, inside of the code last time we were looking at these entity types. Oh, and Steven's saying the editor for blog posts is way better. So maybe let's try this, and I might have to, if it's going to throw exceptions in the local storage, I might have to get that sorted out. But we can try adding one and then seeing it show up in the database. That might be kind of cool. So one sec, we'll pull this up again. I think Steven was saying I'm going to have to get rid of everything. Maybe. Oh, it's already hit an exception. Maybe that'll work going forward. Okay, but oh, I guess I've never tried this before. I need to log in, I suppose, right? And I'm logged in, so that's good. um, I I guess I don't know what I expected. But yeah, is there? How does it know? I'm only asking this because I know Steven's in the chat. How does it know I'm admin? That's I could probably look in the code, but nice to know if Steven has a quick answer for that. But it's sweet that it logged me in. But now we have this new admin menu, which we've never seen before because I've never logged in. So I can go to create new. There's drafts. There's settings. What's in the settings? Cool. Okay, so we can actually invalidate the cache, which is cool. And run visit counter data. The visit. Oh, cool. Okay, so yeah, we talked about the visit counter stuff before. Okay, so Steven's saying for in development, there's no real barriers, so you can log in when you're running it like this. Awesome. Okay, so let's create a new blog post. Nice. Okay, so the short description, like I said, this is your meta description. I suppose there's probably, I haven't posted or published a blog post yet. So I suppose this might also get used on the site. So if you're kind of scrolling through blogs, you can see a quick description. But I'm assuming this gets reused for the meta description field as well. I'm literally making assumptions though. So now we have the ability to go make a blog post. So we could do, that is a heading. Nice. Okay. And it's marked down. So you can get different headings. We could do a subheading. Yeah, this does feel nice to use. Attach files by dragging and dropping. Okay, very cool. How's that going to work? Let me see if I can find it. I'm reading this part right here. And I know it's real small, but it's by my face. So where's a good picture I can drop in? I'm trying not to share like my entire computer and have like my entire desktop come through. So sometimes I got to poke around and do stuff. Let's see. This is a funny picture. So I'm dropping a picture I made for a thumbnail that's my face made old by AI. And it's up. You can see it's uploading the image. Cool. Steven saying short description is used for the main page list, including the title. Steven, does that automatically get used for like SEO for like meta description? Like I said, I haven't explored all of the code, but I am like hyper focused on SEO optimization. So I'm assuming it does get used like that, but it'll be something I'm very curious about. If you publish, you can select if you want to directly publish, bypassing the cache or not. Cool. Okay. The default is not to bypass the cache. Maybe that is confusing for folks. Okay. No, good to know. So to explain this for others that might not fully understand what that means around the caching. So, and Steven's saying that is used for SEO. Great. So on the caching front, if you have traffic going to your website, in general, it's not just for blogs, but we're talking about blogs here. The like blog content's pretty static, right? You publish it, and like unless you're like actively editing and publishing changes and want people to see it, you really don't need like real-time updates for the stuff you're changing. So having a cache is pretty powerful. You basically just save like almost all of the effort your website has to do because you can just serve things directly from a cache. The challenge is if you go to post something new, of course, like if people have a cache list of blog posts, they'll never see your blog post. So you need to be able to invalidate your cache in some capacity to let people know to fetch this new list that includes your new post. And then, the other thing is if you make an update to a post, do you want to invalidate the cache so people see that update the very next time they request it? Or are you okay for it to be like stale for a bit? Maybe you have a lot of traffic coming to your blog. I certainly don't get enough that I'm concerned about this, but you're like, okay, like I'll just wait for the next time the cache is invalidated, and then the new stuff will get pulled in. So Steven's just saying that there's options for that. The upload is meant for markdown files. Never tried it with other things. Oh, oops. I didn't realize that. I thought, and now that I'm realizing it, I thought that it was this option here, insert image, but I thought by default it was going to do that. So maybe, I don't know if I bricked it because it's confused. I don't think I hit a breakpoint though. Let's keep going, but I wanted to do, I'll do it again, with this. This button is probably defaulting to going to my my network drive, which takes a few moments, I think. Oh no, it didn't. I thought it was going to put a pop-up. Okay, so this is interesting because it means I'm going to have to upload things. Steven, where is what's the assumed pattern for, I didn't realize this popped up because I thought I was expecting a file dialog, but yeah, this is a markdown editor. So what's the assumed pattern if I'm like, okay, I want to put a picture in, like where should I expect to host things? And I realize it's a URL, so the answer is, Nick, literally anywhere where you can have a public URL. But is there something built in, or are we expected to have our own storage, like maintained separately from this? I guess to rephrase the question, does the blog engine and this site like support as a first class thing hosting images and things like that, or do we just do that separately? So just a curious question. I don't know what I'm expecting, but that's cool to know at least. So toggle preview. Oh, nice, right? So this is the preview mode of the markdown, which is great. Okay, unfortunately, I have to host it yourself. Currently, I have to maintain yourself. Perfect. Okay, no worries. Just it's a curiosity, right? Like, I'm fine to do it. I know how to do it. I just didn't know if there is a spot, and then I should go to look for that instead. Okay, so this is a really simple blog post for now. Preview URL again. So this is like I was just asking Steven about embedding pictures. You just have to make sure that there is a URL. And maybe what we can do quickly is we can go get a picture. Let's pick one without my stupid face. So here's a picture, right? And we can do, we'll insert it into the text as well. Where's the preview button? Right, so we have a picture directly in here. This is the preview of the markdown. I have a preview URL. Steven has a fallback, which is cool. So use as a fallback if the preview image can't be used by the browser. Oh, very cool. So the example you can see here, for example, using a JPEG or PNG as a fallback for a VIF file, which is not supported in Safari or Edge. Awesome, right? So if you're, I actually haven't even moved anything over to this format. I have WebP for everything. But even from trying to syndicate my blog posts to different sites, like for example, if I wrote an article and then wanted to like have a copy of it on LinkedIn, LinkedIn does not allow you to upload WebP files. So this is a cool feature that if you're posting or publishing a blog post, if the browser itself, or we're not even talking about a different platform, if the browser itself doesn't support the main type, you can fall back, which is cool. And then we can add some tags. Is there, I don't know how this part works, if it's comma separated. Is that one tag? Okay, and then there's a disclaimer here. The first page of the blog is cached, therefore the blog post is not immediately visible. And this is what Steven was saying, right? So oh, nice. So Steven's saying the preview URL is also used as the as the image tag. So balancing SEO and compatibility, we're forced to use both. Nice. Okay, tags are comma separated. Cool, we did that. Oh, I didn't put a title in here. Whoops. No, we'll do this is our... Okay, do I got everything covered now? Nice. Okay, we got our first blog post. Are we ready to see it? There it is. Oh, look at that animation is pretty sweet. We can see that we have the... It's sorry, I know it's really hard to see, and I have a banner that's at the bottom of my screen. 1 second. I still realize it's very difficult to see. I apologize, but as I move my cursor over this, let me just right or center click on them. You can see that it opened up tags for test, blogs, and cool. So we do have tagging, which is awesome. Has the read time, has the publish date, and then we can go read the whole article, and it's beautiful as we expected, right? Very awesome. And we can clap for it. Oh, I was hoping it was an infinite counter and I could clap to infinity. So this is awesome. And then the table of contents that expands at the top, which is great. This feels like I'm clicking and, you know, kind of navigating. Like I just wanted to say, I understand that you're not doing the same thing right now, but it feels very nice to like, it just feels nice to use, which is cool. I know that might sound weird, but it's the point I'm trying to get across is like, it doesn't feel clunky. Then we have the archive, so we can go through all the posts, right? It's same thing. It's very, very fast. Like super snappy to click around. Yeah, and then Steven saying related posts are generated once you have more than one item, which makes sense. It would be kind of suspicious if it recommended 3 posts to me and they were all our first post. So that's awesome. But yeah, like just to show you, and I realize I'm running it locally, so you might say, well, that's why it's so fast. Sure, but at the same time, like everything about this is just like lightning. If we go to my site, right, like it has a spinner to load. Then we have these, which are all super slow anyway. But let me go over to the posts again. That wasn't too bad, right? To get to this list, this infinite scroll thing has to keep pulling in stuff. Again, it's not terrible. But if we go click this article, that actually wasn't too bad. But there's definitely times where like loading some of this stuff on WordPress for me is just like, it's incredibly slow. And I'm sure if I stayed on this live stream long enough, I'm sure we would see my blog go down. Ironically, after the last live stream I did, my blog was down like 2 hours later. So I got real lucky. But anyway, this is pretty awesome. What I'd like to do now is pull up. Sorry, I should have said flashbang warning, but I hope your eyes are still okay. We can now go check out the data in here, right? So we have the title, we have the description, and then we have the content. And if we go open this, we can see that we have the straight up markdown in here, which is cool. So what does it look like when we open up one of my blog posts? I downloaded these. Where did they go? Okay, post 1. More. Oh, it's not a flashback warning. So this is in dark mode. Give me 1 sec. I'm just closing some other tabs. Okay. So instead of markdown, I have this lovely thing going on here. So let me zoom in a little bit. Word wrap is on, so it's going to look a little weird, but essentially this is a newsletter article, okay? So in my newsletters, I always start off with like a little TLDR to list out a couple of things. So again, we are looking at HTML. There's going to be a lot of comments. You'll notice like this style. This is just from, I don't know if it's WordPress directly or the plugins I'm using, but I believe they're using the comments as like metadata to be able to do replacements. So as an example, you can see this is one really big comment. I don't even know where the end of it is. Is the whole thing a comment? Not quite. Anyway, it's a bit of a mess, but this part is the table of contents that's made by a plugin. So the point is that like there's a whole bunch of this extra metadata and stuff that's just included in the comments. This is the kind of thing that's going to break completely. So this part's fine though, because as Steven was saying, he has a replacement for a table of contents. So like I said, my goal is to figure out as I go to migrate these posts, what the heck am I going to be doing? Yeah, and then Steven's saying for your migration, we could build an API endpoint for bulk import. Doing this via the UI is cumbersome. So yeah, like this is kind of what I'm thinking, right? So unfortunately, like my goal today was to be able to, in C# open up a connection to my Azure database that has a clone of my entire WordPress site. And then basically we could write code that would step through and say, given this post, transform it properly, and then insert it into our database for this Blazor blog engine. And I think it's still doable. It's just I didn't have time before this stream to get it set up, but I need to figure out which pieces can be transformed and which pieces need some help. So for example, this block of code that I have highlighted, like we're not going to transform this because we have a replacement for it. And that's that Steven has the automatic table of contents. So literally don't need that. Great news. I think so far, everything that's above, everything that's above should be able to do a HTML to Markdown. And I think for the most part, should be okay. We're going to start seeing pictures. So let me zoom in a little bit. So we can see it's like WordPress image. And then again, this is in a comment, right? So it has some of the styling information and stuff like that that's in the comment. And then it's inserting a figure. We can see the source of the image. So when I was chatting with Steven and I was asking, hey, like, does this blog engine, does it have hosting? And he said, like, no, like you have to self-host for now. Like that's okay right now because this picture is hosted somewhere. Now, probably what I want to do, and this would be, what's the word for this? It's like opinionated, I guess. If I were to write an importer, it would be opinionated to say, when you come across files, like, let's go put them into Azure storage, right? So instead of it just saying, hey, just keep pointing at this spot, when I move my blog, like I'm going to keep the same domain, but I'm not going to have a /WP content upload, blah, blah, blah. Like that's going away. So what I could do is basically have this go to blob storage and then change this. That will mean that if anything else on the internet was pointing at this and like kind of hot linking to my site, that link will break. That's probably okay. My cats are going to start to meow because they want to escape from this room. You guys are trapped. You got to stay. So I think that's going to be fine. But I'm just thinking through how this importer or translator is going to work. And like I said, probably will be opinionated to do this and put this into blob storage. And that way, when we hit blocks like this, I don't know yet, maybe the algorithm has to do multiple passes. So we could say, when you come across this and we're doing, what's it called? Like HTML to Markdown. I don't know if by default, it will just make this into Markdown for us and we'll link to the current page or the current picture, sorry. And then I have to do another pass on it to say, hey, for every WebP, JPEG that we see, like, let's go extract that and convert it. And then Steven's saying, I like the idea of hosting the images as part of the blog itself. Yeah, like, I think that would be nice. It would feel kind of good to have it in one spot, not have to worry too much. I'm going to keep scrolling through this to see if there's any interesting, I don't know, like sort of features that are in the blog post that I'll have to think about. I might have to grab my cat in 1 second because he's doing this at the door. It's not going to open though, obviously. So more text, which is fine, list items, all this stuff should be markdown compatible, not too concerned. We have another image. So again, same idea. Oh my goodness. Vito, come here. I don't know if he's loud enough that you guys can hear him, but he's crying, he's sad. And then his brother is beside me, like trying to chew on cables. So it's hard. It's a struggle. Oh, I didn't know this. So Steven just said, in theory, you should be able to copy paste the HTML into the blog. Markdown supports HTML. I did not know that. I did not know that Markdown supports HTML. Let's I don't know what's gonna happen, but let's go do it. Yeah. So the styling and stuff is totally gonna break things. But like, could we just do this? When I say can we do this, I wanna add the caveat that like I think it will be broken, but will it do a lot of it? Like obviously, like Steven's saying, like these custom classes and stuff, like it's not gonna look right. It's not gonna do what we want. But I wonder if this actually. Well, let's just try it. What's the worst that could happen, right? And then we need to probably clear the cache. I'm scared. What's going to happen? Oh, it didn't clear. Did I not save it? Maybe I didn't save it. Oh, no, it's saved. So I might have done something wrong with the cache clearing, but it says invalidated. I could also just restart. I think. Unless it's in my local storage in the browser. Let me go back. Oh, I have a few of these open. Oh, it did. What the heck? I had two of these windows open, so it did do it. I just switched to this one and it worked. This is insane. So Steven, I actually don't know what happened because I had two windows open. Maybe when I restarted it though, it caused one of them to forcefully refresh though. I'm all over the place right now because I'm baffled that I didn't expect this would work at all. This is actually really good. Like the picture resize, like sure, that's whatever. These are links. Oh, that's another thing. Oh no, all my URLs and stuff I'm gonna have to try and make sure that I can update. But as long as I can maintain the slug and everything properly, I should be okay. Like, but this is the format, like the code's all formatted properly. I have no idea how this worked so well. This is incredible. So here's one spot that's interesting. This worked, so I'm not complaining about it. But one thing that I will want to do is like, this is a block that I have in WordPress that is what I was referring to as a short code. So at any point in the future for my newsletter articles, because I send out my newsletter and then I have an archive of them on my website. And it's a premium feature if you want to access the currently the 65 newsletter articles that I published. If you would like to access those and have historical access, if you subscribe from day one, you would have a copy of all of these in your email. So you'd say, well, it's kind of stupid for me to pay to get the archive. I get it. But if you are subscribing later and you said, hey, like there's a lot of value in these older blog posts, these newsletters, I'd like to see them, you can subscribe. You also get included in that a Discord membership that I have. But the point is that when I put these into here, if I want to go replace them and update and advertise a new course for the ones that are currently on my site, obviously if it's in your email, I'm not changing your email, but I have these short codes and I can basically change like this content in one spot. And then the next time the page loads, we get that automatically. So I'm assuming we don't have that kind of functionality, but like I was saying before, if that's something that Steven thinks is interesting, like that would be cool. I'm happy to go at least prototype it. If he doesn't want to spend time on it, totally cool. But I think for me, that's going to be something that I need to be able to manage short codes, because it will, not only does it save some time, so I don't have to go rewrite some things. Of course, I could go copy and paste, but the main power is that I can update one spot and have it propagate to all of the other pictures like it. So he's saying spicy, I like that feature, and have somewhat replaceable content defined dynamically. Yeah. And then Joshua, hey, what's up? Sorry for the party. Let's go. WP migration, inevitable at this point. Yeah, and for folks that join later, I did say that it's a complete coincidence that there's a bunch of stuff going on with WordPress right now, and I don't want to get into all the politics around that, but yeah, I had my own motivations for migrating. It's not. I don't even know what's going on with WordPress, but it's been a pain in the butt for me for how I'm hosting it. This is okay. So one part that broke and totally had no I had no expectation of any of this working at all, just for the record. I want to be very transparent about this, that my thought process was today, I'm going to be writing all of the code that gets anything to show up here. And we're light years ahead of that. And thank you, Steven, for pointing out, I guess I should have known this, but Markdown supports HTML, so that's cool. One thing that we're not getting right away, and I thought this was going to be a sticky point, is like, you can see there's a YouTube URL here. And if we were to go to one of my, let's go to Substack. So, because on Substack, I have some of these available. Oh, the cat is attacking my foot. Oh my God, it's bad. Let go, buddy. His nail is stuck in my foot, and I don't want to lower it because he'll grab it with his other paw. This is hell. Okay. Let's take this article, and if we scroll to the bottom, what I like to do is I like to put in sort of YouTube videos for the week. Well, Steven saying you can use the embed source HTML tag for that. Well, Steven, the problem with that is that I don't know anything about HTML and anything to do with web development. So, so migration might be straightforward. Awesome. Okay, that's good news. So yeah, this is the kind of thing, right? If we look at my current newsletter, it's, if I know it's not the same article, but see how it says weekly recap? Let me scroll back up. Weekly recap, right? If I go between these two, you see the title, and then instead of it being a video player, it's just the URL. So embed source HTML tag for that. Okay. That sounds cool. So if I Google HTML embed video, W3 schools, and I'm being totally transparent. I don't do anything in HTML. Like I just don't. When I when I build stuff with like on the side, I stick to all the backend development. So does the video element work? Also, how is the video YouTube embedded in the current HTML? Yeah, good question. Like on this page, right? Let's go look for this text. Oh man, it's on one line. Ugh. Okay, I gotta move to the right. Sorry. What? Am I? Oh, sorry. That's in the table of contents. Oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. Did I get the second one now? Oh, maybe it's this one. I am having so much trouble trying to read across this single line, but um, anyway, I don't know. Like, Steven, does a video tag work, or do I have to use? You said embed, right? Like, is that a different embed source HTML tag? Oh, interesting. I don't know enough about like the difference between just using video or embed source. One of the things that's a factor here, and maybe there is a difference, is like embed can be used also for PDFs. Oh, cool. Okay. One of the things that's important is on YouTube videos when you embed them on different places. I'm pretty sure, depending on the control, like if especially if you're automatically playing them, you do not get views. So obviously, like primarily for me, my content creation is on YouTube. And because my content's primarily on YouTube, when I have blog articles and stuff, I would like for people that see the YouTube videos to watch the YouTube videos. The views help me, they help me grow my channel. So I want to make sure that they're not automatically going to play. First of all, that would be super annoying. And second of all, I would like the view counts to be counted. Steven saying go with video, it should be fine. JD Davis just hopped on. Are you building a Blazor based CMS or are you converting a WordPress site to be Blazor based? Sort of the latter. So I know Steven said I have his name a 7 out of 10. I've been saying Giesel. I don't even know how to guess another pronunciation of it. Steven Giesel, sorry for getting your last name wrong. He has a Blazor blog engine. I put the link in the chat. One sec though. I think there's another tab I have somewhere. There's too much going on. LinkDotNet. So this is Steven. Sorry, it's off the screen here. Repositories, blog. So for folks that want it, there we go. That's the repository. So this is what I'm going to be converting my site over to. Hello, Saeed. Joshua, just keep the good work. Command Z on Mac for line wrap so that you can read the code instead of scroll to the left. Ah, good to know. Okay. It's like the character J. Okay, I'm gonna have to practice this not on stream because I'm gonna embarrass myself. I actually saw Jade Wilson, who she's at Microsoft as well. She makes a lot of content on LinkedIn and other platforms, but she had posted something that was like, "Does anyone else have anxiety about mispronouncing people's names?" And I am 200% the person that is like phobic of mispronouncing people's names. I feel so embarrassed, and I don't mean to insult people, but I'm really bad with names. So I'm trying my best, but I am very afraid of doing the wrong thing. Okay, so Steven's saying we should be able to get away. Sorry, flashbang warning. Too late. With putting a video tag around this. And I'm going to go back for just a moment. It was video. Oh, and there's autoplay, which we don't want. Oh, and then you can do multiple sources. Okay, let's just copy this for a moment. And again, I apologize. I realize this text is probably stupidly small. You're on 1/4 of a 4K resolution screen. So let's go down to where this is the wrong one. No, it's the right one. Okay. It was a different newsletter article, which was confusing me. So if we are at the bottom, okay, we can see that it's doing a figure instead. So I'm going to replace the last one. And actually. I'll leave that in. I don't have OGG though. I think I was doing like 600 by 400 as default. Do not want autoplay. And then I'm going to take the embed URL. We're going to get rid of all that and do this. So I'm not yet doing it for all of them, but I'm going to save that. So press OK. If I just to prove that it worked, if I go back into this, you can see right here that it has the video stuff. So I just wanted to show you that this is committed into the database at this point in time. So we have that there. I think there was something, again, there might be a bug with the cache not invalidating. So I'm just going to rerun just so we don't have to guess. And then I'm going to go back. We can see that this refreshed. And if I scroll down a little lower, maybe we have a video. We got we got something. Oh, it says copy video address. Interesting. So there's actually a video control here, I guess. If we copy the address, is it? Oh, that is my YouTube video. That's my face. Okay, so there's a video here. I'm not exactly sure why it's not working. That's okay, though. We could try embed as well. So again, I'm going to go back here. I'm just messing around to see like what things we have to work and play with here. Because again, this live stream is not about making it all happen. It's about identifying which pieces of functionality are gaps so that my goal is not to go through one blog post at a time and try and convert it. I want to identify as many gaps as possible, bulk convert it, go through a bunch and say, okay, like, did this do a good enough job, or should I enhance the conversion and rerun the import? Because once you have automation to do the import, if I have to redo it again and it takes, even if it took 24 hours to do, which it won't, but if it did, then whatever, it's probably more efficient than me sitting there trying to do one blog post at a time. So let's try doing this. I'm just going to drop it right below so we don't lose the video one, because maybe I'm doing something stupid, which is actually more than likely. So there's the embed. Was there no closing tag on that? It's just how it is. Okay, cool. Press OK. We're going to go back into here. Again, not sure if there's an issue with the cache invalidation, so we will... Yeah, Joshua, adjusting automation is way faster than recreation, 100%. And realistically, let's assume I only had 10, 20 blog posts or something. I think number one, one could argue that sure, if there's that few, that just doing it by hand, maybe you get away with it. But I like having tools like this handy, and sometimes the code that we create as part of that is something that I can reuse later. So for example, I've already done some work with HTML to Markdown, and like if I wouldn't have written code like that, I wouldn't have had exposure and had opportunities where I can reuse it or at least be familiar with it. And I thought that's what we were doing today, but it just happened to work really well without that. So this also did not seem to go. I don't think that there's anything in local storage that's affecting this. But anyway, I keep hitting the same button. I'm being stupid. One sec. This is the one. Thank you. Like I said, I don't think this is actually going to change anything, but it's not going. That's okay. Oh. Am I being really dumb? Did I not? I put the embed right below, right? Let me go back to here and I'll pause for a second because maybe I'm just being completely silly. Am I using embed wrong? Like in W3 schools, it didn't have a closing tag. Can I try it in here? Or you know what? It might be that, one sec. This might be working on my blog because of the plugin I'm using, and maybe this is not the right embed URL. See, okay, it's not even, it's not that. Okay, so I think, I think what's happening. Let's go pick this video. I'm going to pause it so no one has to, sorry, I have to look at my face for a second. But if I go to share this, there's embed. And see how this URL is different? Oh, man, I hate this. Like, it won't let me highlight part of it. Watch me select something. As soon as I let go of my mouse, highlights the whole thing. Thank you. That's exactly what I didn't want. Okay, let me put it here. If I take this out, and we don't need the last bit, but instead of watch, now it says embed, right? Now it works. So I think the plugin that I was using on my website, like on WordPress, probably knows and see that difference where it says watch. Zoom in a little bit, a lot of it. So instead of watch here, when I paste this down, the ID should be the same, right? It ends in VF8, but instead of watch, it's embed. And I suspect that what's happening is that the plugin I use goes, hey, we know that ain't going to work. We'll just do it for you. So they'll do it like real time. So now let's go back to here. I'm going to leave both in. So this is going to be totally wonky, but I just want to see if there's a difference between the two. So, right, we're getting rid of the watch part. Now it's embed. Getting rid of the watch part. Now it's embed. Yes, there are two. I'm just saying it out loud so you know that I know. And we're going to restart. And that should be good. What? Come on. Did it not? Oh, it's still watch. Let me go. I don't trust it. Let's go back. Yeah, Steven, question for you. I've restarted. Oh, you know what? I've been doing something wrong here. Let me log in. I'm going to go back to the settings. I'm going to invalidate the cache. This wasn't working without restarting, but I was forgetting to actually press the thing. So now I've done it. I'm pretty sure if I restart, this will work. Because I think it was still serving me a cache, like a persisted cache. You want to see the console. Clear that. If you update the DP, the cache doesn't get invalidated. There are two caches. One's for the first page, one for the blog post itself. Ah. Okay. How did I invalidate this before? That's the thing I'm curious about. Make it visible immediately. So just to check, this post should have, oh, this part's still cached. Okay, so let me do that. And then I think I had, well, let's just go with video for now, whatever. Okay, so this should be updated. I must have gotten lucky earlier when I did it and it happened to refresh, and then I just stuck with that. We go to the bottom. Still nothing. Either restart or just updating the blog post. So far, what I've done is I've updated the blog post. That didn't seem to do it. I wanted to view the source, though, and see if we have... It does have the embed now, but that's with the video tag. So I wonder if the video tag just does not work. So if we go back to edit this one, instead of using video, we use embed, just to make sure. It's literally embed source. I'm just going to copy it so I can't possibly mess it up. Let's go take this. We'll take the embed link, drop it in. I will get rid of this one for now. Make it visible immediately. Okay, so if I go back, we're just trying to see if we get a video. And now we get a video. Okay, so the video tag does not work, but the embed tag does. Kind of interesting. So again, these are just things. Oh, you can check your network type to see if YouTube refuses your... Interesting. Okay, yeah. At least on that, on network. Well, anyway, I'm here already, but it seems like embed does work. So as long as I can mess around and make the embed, like if I can center it and make it have a default minimum size or something like that, then that's great. The worst case, if I can't, like at least it's embedded, right? And if we go play it, right, like I would just want this to be a little bit bigger by default, and as long as I can style that, then I'm content. Otherwise, people can click to YouTube. But I'm pretty amazed that this just worked. Yeah. Anyways, you solved it. Yeah. Woo. No, folks, I just wanted to call out even like getting this kind of stuff in WordPress to be consistent is a pain in the butt. So I'm just really happy that everything dropped in. I'm going to have some weird things like this where I'll have to set sizes and stuff like that. This is probably styled some way and that's not carrying over. So this is the kind of thing that I'm totally happy to, if I can't make it automatically do the right thing, then I think going through posts retroactively, like if it was just to, like I probably wouldn't care. This is supposed to be centered. But like if I couldn't do it, then whatever, I'm not going to cry about it. This would be kind of nice for me to go back and fix and make sure that maybe on pictures I have to go set some consistent styling or bounds or something like that. That way they fit. But I think that's probably good. Again, I'm shocked that this worked. Let's go do another one. I'm going to do another post. Why can't I think? Admin, create new. So one of the other posts I had, that was the first one. Let me go open. I had two more. Let me go open one of them. Okay, this one's a big one. And last time we edited the database, but I'm just pasting in a ton of HTML. We can actually preview it ahead of time. Oh yeah, look at those. This is, let me get rid of part of this. I think this part here, this Elementor thing is like, gotta go. Let's get rid of that. And then This also has, what does it have? I'm trying to read, but this should have the table of contents like built in, which we don't want anymore. That's this what's in this article part. So I think I want to get rid of a whole lot of this stuff. Let me ditch that and see if it looks a little better. Okay. For the most part, pretty good. And then this one also had some fancy things in here. So like something that is guaranteed to be broken is like this article had some embedded content that was like, is my cat in the background? Oh, he is. Look at him. It's on this side. He's awesome. That's Vinny. Vinny's way more chill. Vinny is a little bit fat, but that's okay. And Vito is by my feet. So Vito and Vinny. Vito is finally settled down. He's in the same position as Vinny is. So he's right below me and he's like on his back with his hands up. And if he sees my feet, he's going to attack me. So I got to be careful because you got sharp nails. So this blog article has, at the end of each one of these little sections here, where it's like gang of four flyweight design pattern, and then plugin design pattern, gang of four proxy design pattern. At the end of each of these little sections, there's almost like a carousel embed. And then it links to some related blog articles that I've written for all of these. So this kind of stuff is going to break, and that's okay. Because I don't think that there's not going to be a drop-in replacement for that kind of stuff. And like I said, totally fine. But I just want to have awareness, because what I don't want to have happen is have some of these articles and stuff, and then people go to read them once it's been migrated, and they're like, dude, what the heck is this? Like, because I've written stuff in a way that's like, click the thing below, and someone's like, Nick, there's literally nothing here. So I just want to make sure I can handle these types of scenarios. But overall, I probably should have been taking notes, but I think where that leaves me is, if I take some notes here, I think hosting pictures, there's going to be a blow away table of contents, because this part is now handled by Steven's blog engine, which is great. Hosting pictures, how is that going to work exactly? So I think the way that I thought about this is that, tab is way too big. There we go. Hosting pictures probably means that I have to do multiple, like I need to scan the text. It's not, I want to find the right words for this. I'm going to have to analyze the text that's in the post, kind of walk through it, extract all of the links to pictures, and then make sure that I can go to the source of that and then upload it to storage, like upload it to Azure Blob Storage. I will be using Azure for all of my stuff for hosting. Not because I work at Microsoft. That's nice that I do, and it's nice that we have Azure credits and stuff like that, but for my stuff is in AWS right now, and I've had a great time with AWS. I have no complaints. But like when I complained about LightSail and stuff, I don't really think it's LightSail. I honestly think it's my WordPress setup. So I'm just going to move to Azure though, because I've been doing a lot more in Azure, and now that I'm sticking around in Azure more, it's one less thing to jump between. Steven's saying there is experimental carousel support with custom HTML tags. So cool. That's an interesting option. So experimental. So that's cool. I'll make note of that. And then I want to list that this is for the big list of. So that's one. The hosting pictures thing, back to this thought. I'll have to scan the HTML. look for picture links, and then upload to Azure. And I suppose that I will need to use a container that's like public read only, right? So I shouldn't say usually because there's a million different use cases. It's quite common that when you're building applications that use blob storage, that you don't want to make them publicly accessible for lots of different reasons. And you end up having things that are called like SaaS URLs, and they're signed or shared access. I can't remember what the acronym's for, but basically it allows people to have like a time limited access to a private file, and that way you can do things like, hey, you need to load a web page, no problem. Like, here's the URL, you can go fetch the picture on your side. That way you're not from your server downloading from blob storage and then sending that back to the client. You can just give a signed URL to the client to go fetch it for themselves, but it's time limited. And it's not like once it's in the browser, it just disappears after the time's up. It's just that you can't refetch using that same URL. So I think I probably don't need to do that, and probably just want to have a public bucket, public blob container, and have my files in there. Like, we're just talking about like pictures that are going to be in the blog post anyway. They're not really private to begin with. So, and I just have to be careful that I'm not mixing other things in there. So if I have that storage account and then I'm like, oh, well, I want to go put secret information in there, like, hey, Nick, don't use the same container for that. So that should be okay. But then once I have the pictures in Azure, then I have to go replace URLs to point to Azure. So I think I need to write something like this. Yeah, and Steven's saying the problem with signed URLs is that client browsers can't cache images effectively. But yeah, Steven, what are your thoughts on just like a public storage container, like public read access to a storage container? So that way, I feel like it's kind of just like if you had the files hosted on a site, right? Like on my WordPress site, anyone can go access, if they have the URL to a picture, they can just go to it without authenticating. So I feel like it's the same concept. As long as it's not public write access, then should be fine, I think. Videos, we had to talk about that. So videos, we need to use embed tag, not video. And then we have to change the URLs, right? Change URLs from watch v equals to embed URL. Yeah, okay. And then Steven's saying, yeah, that's what I'm doing with the CDN before that. Single node CDN. Yeah, that's interesting. I think even Azure has blob storage. You can set up a CDN with your blob storage. I haven't experimented with that much. I think I've turned it on for Brand Ghost, but I haven't seen the impact of doing that. So I don't know. Maybe I have it configured wrong, or it's really just not needed at this point. But I think you can set all that up. And then the carousel features, Steven had the example here. I'm going to put that into my notes. Called slideshow. Interesting. Okay. And then we talked about concept of short codes. So Steven seems to like this. Remember, the short codes, I would recommend seeing as Azure Blob Storage only supports HTTP 1.1. Well, I got to talk to someone in Azure then. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I wish I were like super well connected like that, but I'm just a dude. Azure CDN has HTTP. So, Steven, I think there's an option in the Blog storage. Yeah, that's right. I think Azure Blob Storage lets you like almost, I don't want to say it's automatically, but it seems pretty hands off, but like you can wire up Azure CDN to Azure Blob Storage. So maybe that's a path forward. Like you just put your stuff into Azure Blob Storage and then you leverage the CDN to actually serve the content through that. Perhaps. But I have not messed around with this enough, but that could be interesting. The point is that I gotta move the pictures off of my existing instance. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Oh, and yeah, Steve's saying yes. It's just a matter of clicks. Okay, cool. I like clicking things. Let's get this blog post up though. So this was can't spell. So design patterns. Do I need an image? Let's find out. I do. Okay. Where is a good image? Let's pick anything. WebP. I don't know what this is a picture of, so we're going to find out. Oh, it's my last newsletter article. Okay. So confusing because it's the same picture. I'm sorry, but it's pretty cool. It just works. I was expecting so many more headaches converting the HTML to Markdown. You can see that it even has like some of this pre-formatted text. Like I was doing this in some of my articles to call out like just inline code. But yes, every one of these is supposed to have a little carousel feature. Oh, I saw some other links. No, those are fine. So, big list of, just to show you what I mean. Okay, so there's an embed at the top, right? Like I would be losing this. Again, I'm trying to be transparent. I don't have the expectation at all that this would just magically work in Steven's blog engine. I just want to be very transparent. That's not my expectation. I'm just trying to find the things that aren't working so that I can get them. So you can see this is a short code. This is from a WordPress plugin called Ocean WP. So that's a short code. It puts this into the article. So if we do end up getting short code functionality, that could be super helpful. This is a table of contents that was built out. I've taken that out because, oh no, that's interesting. I wonder if the, Steven, I wonder if the automatic table of contents is looking specifically for Markdown formatting. Probably. So that's interesting. Either that's something that is the case and Steven wants to support that as a first class thing, or he's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, just use Markdown. I would say, just because selfishly, if I don't have to go converting all my stuff to Markdown, it would be nice if this automatically could pick up on the sort of the HTML headings. I'm assuming that's what's happening. If I go back to the other one, I didn't test this yet. It looks like it. So it looks like table of contents here is only going to pick up on the Markdown. So if I had, I go add some Markdown to it, and we go check it out, right? It's at the top now. So it's only looking for Markdown, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if Steven cares about that, then he cares, and otherwise that's okay. It's not an expectation I had that any of this would work without being converted to Markdown. The carousel thing I just wanted to point out, and again, you can see that my blog has this weird styling thing. This is broken. It's not, if I clear all the caches, this gets fixed, but this gap, there's a really big gap between the pictures. It's not supposed to be there. So what it's doing, though, is it's automatically looking for posts. So it's kind of like Steven's related post feature, but it's looking for posts that are tagged a certain way, and then it will go drop them into this container. I don't know what that is. Like, why is there a 0.55 there? That makes no sense. But more of that carousel thing. So it's just a way that I can have relevant posts kind of embedded in here. So, like Steven was saying, we might be able to get away with using this slideshow type of thing. So that could be pretty cool. Otherwise, I think, like, this is a huge post, but I don't think there's anything else that's fancy in this one. There's that shortcode again. Again, I don't know why there's a 0.55. Like, I don't know where that comes from. That's so weird. Can I? It's not even. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. One sec. Design patterns. 0.55. So it doesn't even show up. Like, 0.55 is not text that I would type, yet you can see that it's showing up in here. And it's not even searchable. What is this? That's so strange. Yeah, I use Elementor. It's a really popular WordPress plugin, and I think that how things are cached on my site, it's absolutely busted. I think that 0.55 is the same reason, or like same, it's a symptom of the same problem that causes this really weird gap. And I think that if I like regenerate CSS because it's been cached, if I regenerate it from Elementor, it fixes all of it. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that there's probably, or not? How did that work? This okay, now I look stupid, but I would expect there to be another shortcode at the bottom. And there isn't. So this one's, see how this one actually embedded it? I would have thought this is the same shortcode. Because what I showed you at the top of this, sorry for jumping around so much, but at the top, we have this here, which is a shortcode. If I go back to the top here, there's supposed to be a shortcode. But in the bottom, it somehow embedded it. And that just doesn't make sense to me. What is in the database? We must know. Oh, interesting. This one at the bottom did not use a shortcode. It actually did use a figure, and that's why it's legitimately rendered. So that's interesting. I wonder why that's the case. Maybe I put that in there before I was using shortcodes or something. And that's some legacy thing I didn't fix, but that explains it at least. It isn't a shortcode. Okay. Okay, well, folks, that might be as far as I get today. I thought there was going to be a lot more C# coding because I thought I was going to have to do a lot more conversions, but I think there's a good list of stuff to get through. I think I'm going to have to write this part for sure, and this part for sure. This is probably a nice to have. I don't know. I know, like in the chat, Steven was saying he likes the idea of shortcodes. I don't know if this is something that he wants to go create himself and support or what have you. But I think at a minimum, I have to do something for hosting pictures, and I have to do something for automatically converting the videos to be embed. The carousel thing is a nice to have that I could follow up with, and this table of contents thing is very much like it's like a Nix specific problem. Sorry, there's two parts. Maybe I'll do this because the table of contents thing does not work with HTML. So requests, happy face, shortcodes, and then the other thing was automatic table of contents for HTML. So these are two things that like I would love. Again, I don't have any expectation of Steven to go do this unless he's like, hey, like I really like those and I want those. If not, like that's totally cool. Like this is a challenging thing when you're creating software and like you want other people to use it. It's like there's going to be a million requests that Steven could get. Like I could say, Steven, I want to have all these different themes and stuff. And he could say, well, I don't want to support that. And that's totally cool. It's his choice. Table of contents works with H2, H3, H4 stuff. It seems to work for Markdown, but it doesn't seem to work for... So, Steve, let me pull this back up and maybe you'll see if I'm doing something wrong. But in this, let me go to the other one because I changed it up. So I added these ones in as Markdown. Everything else in here is HTML, but the table of contents only has the Markdown ones. And if I do go back to the other spot, this design patterns one does not have any Markdown, and the table of contents is empty. So I'm not entirely sure. Maybe these are... Sorry, that article is a nightmare to go through. Is it because... Oh, there is an H2 there. Sorry, let me get this more on the screen. And I apologize too because there's a delay between chat and what I'm showing you. So if you're waiting and being like, Nick, I asked you like 20 seconds ago to go do something, I'm so sorry. I don't know why Restream is trying to automatically on my behalf brag that I got messages. It says on my side, congratulations, you've received 100 messages. And I was like, that's nice. It's a good little private message. And then I realized it published that. Like, you don't need to do that. Get out of here. So yeah, should be H2. There should be H3. Yeah, so they're there. Anyway, like I said, it seems to be picking up the Markdown ones, but not these other ones. If you think that's already supposed to be supported, awesome. That's cool. Yeah, but I think those are my two selfish feature requests, is that there's support for that and then support for the shortcodes. Otherwise, I think I have some stuff to code up for getting stuff into Azure storage, but that could be a good one for next time. So again, I apologize for not getting as much C# coding done, and I was expecting we were going to get stuck right at the point of HTML to Markdown and spend all of our time on that. But this was actually a very useful exercise to see what's compatible, and it looks like there's a tremendous amount, which is really cool. But just to pull it back up on the screen before signing off here, looks like shortcodes, Steven. I have that in the request list. I have to make sure that I'm blowing this away from my content because it'll just get nasty. And then the videos and the hosting pictures thing, I think, are the biggest thing. So, no, thank you, Steven. I do appreciate it. Super helpful to have you on here and kind of like point in the right direction and stuff. I am so excited to be able to go ahead and use this as a blog engine, but I described it before as like, it's a bit of a terrifying process. For folks that if you've moved a bunch before, like, every time you have to go move, and I'm talking about like where you live, your house, right? Moving houses is a pain in the butt. And if you live in an apartment or you only have a few things, it's like, it sucks, but you're at least like, okay, like I got a room full of stuff and like I can survive. I like, now that I've moved from an apartment into a house and we just have more space for things, I have like anxiety about having to move houses because I'm like, there's things everywhere. Like, we have to go move all this stuff. Where's it going to go? And for me to move my blog feels very much like that, where I'm like, I have anxiety about all the things that are going to be busted. But I think the reality is once it's moved over, I'm going to feel better about it. I want to minimize broken links and things like that. Actually, Steven, if you're not, it's totally cool. One more thing that I was wondering about, I don't know if we have the ability to have like landing pages. So not blog posts, but like up top, I have like a courses tab, if it will ever load. And I don't know if there's a way to have, like, technically this is a blog post, but it's like, I don't know if there's a way that we can have, I don't know how you would implement it necessarily. I don't mean to solution as I ask this, but almost like a way to have landing pages that are dedicated blog posts. Like, that would be super cool. But again, if that's not a feature that makes sense to you, I understand, but I will need to have a way to make sure that devleader.ca/courses is not broken. If I have to hack that in on a fork or something, that's like, that's totally cool. I understand, but that's going to be something that I want to go look at. There's some other things too, like, for example, I have an ebooks link, like a sort of a tab, but it actually navigates to another page. So like, this is not on WordPress anymore. This navigated away. So yeah, basically like customizable links in the title. Again, this would be super cool kind of thing, but I totally get if you're not interested, but probably in a fork. Yeah. So that's cool. I think this is super helpful. I'm excited. And yeah, I think with that said, I don't know if I have anything else. I'm trying to think if there's like any last minute feature request to to get out to Steven, but no, I think I'm excited for this. Probably a good opportunity to go plug things though as I sign off here. So for folks that are interested, if you want to learn about C#, I do have courses on C# on Dome Train. If I go back over one sec, I don't even know how to navigate the site. The most recent course is actually a non-C# course that I did on Dome Train. This was with Ryan Murphy, who is also a content creator. And Ryan and I put this course together for behavioral interviews. We have another one coming in a couple of weeks for Dome Train that's also on career development. But Ryan and I are going to be focusing a lot more on building out career-focused courses on Dome Train. But I, of course, will continue to be putting out C# content. I'm currently building out a SaaS product called Brand Ghost. The result of that is that I have far less time to be creating dedicated blog posts. So this is actually why it's a good opportunity for me right now to migrate my blog, because I'm only putting out one newsletter per week, which is a blog post as well. It's not like before I was doing a blog post almost every day, and that would be a pain in the butt to have to keep up with for migration. So I do want to get back to writing blog posts that will be focused on C#. So certainly not abandoning C#, but at least from a course perspective, I think that you have many great .NET creators out there. I'm happy to keep making .NET blogs, .NET videos, but from a course perspective, I think that the most value that I can offer you is as an engineering manager for over 12 years now is about career development. So that's where I'd like to focus my efforts with respect to courses. So if you're curious, this is our latest course between Ryan Murphy and I on Dome Train, and we have a lot more coming. So I wanted to say, again, thanks for tuning in. Huge thanks to Steven for being here. He is the author of the blog engine that we were using. I will put that back into the chat in case you have not seen it yet, but link.net/blog is the repository. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting to get this over to Blazor and feel like I have control over things again. So very excited. But I'm going to be on vacation next week, and I think we're traveling back the Monday after. So I'm going to be probably missing 2 weeks of streams. That might mean if I'm back for Tuesday morning, I might be able to get on another live stream and we can do some more work. But yeah, I'm expecting probably not at this point. So we'll keep people posted on the schedule, though. So huge thanks again for tuning in. And thanks again, Steven. We all appreciate your time and effort here. So take care, everyone.